Graduation ceremonies are now happening for kindergarten, first grade, fifth grade, and pre-K, with caps, gowns, diplomas, and professional photographers. The parents are being required to attend them or just exhausted. With the 250th anniversary this weekend, life expectancy in America has doubled since 1776, and the reasons why are genuinely worth understanding. And a man in Spain was put through the full cancer workup after his brain scan showed lesions that looked exactly like metastatic tumors. And then the MRI revealed what was actually in his head. While everyone was busy arguing about politics, a bunch of other things happened. I'm Keith Conrad, and this is News Side Quest. This might be my first genuine old man yells at cloud moment. Slate ran a piece this week on what's being called graduation creep, the steady expansion of formal graduation ceremonies to cover essentially every grade transition in a child's school career. Pre-K graduation, kindergarten graduation, fifth grade graduation. One New York teacher recently put on a suit for his students' fifth grade graduation, noting they were just going to the classroom upstairs. Previously, events like these were called moving up or stepping up ceremonies and involved little more than a sing-along and some remarks from the teacher. Now they're ticketed occasions with processions, diplomas, props, and a professional photographer. The kids wear miniature caps and gowns. Parents mingle at a reception. One Brooklyn mother of two, aged 5 and 9, had attended 4 graduations in a row. Nobody interviewed for this piece could identify a single reason this happened. It's a convergence of gentle parenting, a post-pandemic rebound for in-person events, and the need for social media documentation, all creating what one writer called a perfect sticky storm of confusion, anxiety, and jealousy that may not be about the students at all. Go figure. As one independent school educator put it bluntly, quote, "It's very much for the parents. It's sort of like, we're spending a whole bunch of money to send our child here, and we would like to see something at the end of the year for our financial efforts." I want to be fair to the best argument for the other side, which is that marking transitions matters and kids benefit from ceremony. There's real research behind that. Ritualized acknowledgement of moving from one stage to the next can give a child a concrete sense of progress. But there's a meaningful difference between a classroom celebration and a ticketed formal event that requires parents to fight for a half day off of work, show up at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, and watch a 5-year-old receive a diploma for successfully completing the first year of school. Back in my day, there was only one graduation ceremony for high school, and our country was better for it. I will acknowledge I can't prove the second part, but I'm standing by it anyway. What's the most elaborate celebration you've witnessed or participated in for something that probably didn't warrant it? And did it actually feel meaningful in the moment or hollow?
I weep for the future.
When the nation was founded in 1776, life expectancy was around 35 to 40 years old. Today, the average lifespan is about 79, according to CDC data, roughly double. By 1900, it had climbed to just 49. If life expectancy in 1776 was 35 to 40, how did Thomas Jefferson live to be 83, and Benjamin Franklin 84, and John Adams all the way to 90? The answer, and this is the most important thing to understand about historical life expectancy data, is that the improvement in lifespan over the centuries has been largely attributed to reduced deaths in infancy and from infectious diseases. As one researcher put it, much of this vast discrepancy is related to the extremely high rates of infant, childhood, and maternal mortality. The average was dragged down catastrophically by how many people died before age 5. If you survived childhood in colonial America, you often lived into your 60s or 70s. Jefferson, Franklin, and Adams were outliers even then, but not as wild as they look against a raw average. The biggest gains came in waves. During the late 1800s, germ theory became accepted, launching the sanitary era. The Federal Quarantine Act of 1878 helped stop the spread of diseases like yellow fever. You don't hear about that one much. Food safety regulations arrived in 1906 with the Pure Food and Drug Act. By the early 20th century, vaccines and antibiotics had changed the equation entirely. Smallpox, polio, measles, influenza, diseases that once killed millions began to retreat. The current picture is more complicated. Between 2014 and 2026, lifespan has actually fallen and risen again. The fall driven by young adult deaths from drug overdoses, suicides, and alcohol-related deaths. COVID-19 cut U.S. life expectancy by more than 2 years between 2019 and 2021 before it began recovering. And despite the overall gains, the U.S. still lags other high-income countries, largely because of higher rates of chronic diseases, substance use, and other preventable causes. Obesity rates continue to climb, contributing to cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and cancer. The reason I find this story meaningful the week before the 250th is that the doubling of American lifespan is one of the most concrete measures of actual progress you can point to. Not political progress, not cultural progress, but the basic biological fact that people live longer here now than at any point in the country's history. Whatever else you want to say about 250 years, that's something. What do you think is the single biggest reason Americans now live longer than they did? And what do you think is the biggest current threat to that progress?
Death stalks you at every turn!
Grandpa?
Well, it does. There it is! Death!
It's only Maggie.
Oh, yeah. You know, at my age, the mind starts playing tricks. So, death!
That's only the cat.
Oh, death!
That's Maggie again, Grandpa.
Oh, where were we? Death!
A case report published this week in the CDC journal Emerging Infectious Diseases, I read mine every month, describes what might be the ultimate good news, bad news situation. A 60-year-old man in Spain, a lifelong resident who had not traveled to any regions where the relevant disease is endemic, arrived at a hospital after suffering 2 weeks of progressive headaches and mild behavioral changes. A CT scan showed multiple abnormal spots in his brain that looked exactly like tumors that had spread from cancer elsewhere in his body. Doctors started down the oncology path. They ran an extensive workup looking for the source of the suspected primary cancer, whole body scans, a colonoscopy, specialized imaging. He didn't find anything. No cancer anywhere, which was confusing, not reassuring, because the brain lesions were still there. When doctors performed a more detailed MRI, they found something the CT scan had not revealed. Tiny fluid-filled cysts in the brain, some of which contained the head of a tapeworm. The man didn't have brain cancer. He had a parasitic infection caused by the pork tapeworm, whose larva had migrated through his bloodstream and embedded in his brain, forming cysts that looked on a CT scan exactly like metastatic tumors. The parasite can infect people in 2 ways. Eating undercooked infected pork leads to an intestinal tapeworm, but accidentally swallowing microscopic tapeworm eggs, typically through food or water contained with feces, can send larvae into the bloodstream where they migrate into tissues, including the brain, and form cysts that may sit there silently for years, causing symptoms. Doctors prescribed 2 anti-parasitic drugs. The man recovered with no complications. Researchers speculate he may have been exposed while working on a construction job years earlier, alongside coworkers from regions where the disease is common. I genuinely don't know whether I'd be relieved by that news or completely grossed out. It's both simultaneously, and I don't think there's a way to fully separate them. On one hand, it's not cancer, it's treatable with medication and a full recovery. That's unambiguously the better outcome. On the other hand, the word worms and brain should not appear in the same sentence about a thing that is inside your head. Those 2 facts are both permanently true at once. Have you ever gotten news that was technically better than what you feared, but somehow still deeply unsettling?
I don't know whether to congratulate you or not. I wouldn't.
A man in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, opened his truck door and found a bear sitting in the passenger seat. Wildlife officials were called, as you might imagine. The bear was relocated. Hey, he just needed a lift. What I want to know is what the bear's destination was and whether it had a preference at all.
I tried to get an interview with him, but they said, nope, you can't do that. He's a live bear. He will literally rip your face off.
A couple in Wisconsin Dells renewed their vows at a water park and then attempted a Guinness World Record for most people going down a water slide in wedding clothing. The record was set. I'm most surprised to learn there was a previous record holder for this very specific category, meaning someone at some earlier point had done this first and actually cared enough to get it officially documented.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
The Michigan House has passed a bill that would allow children to run lemonade stands without permits or fees. I'm glad the legislature has resolved all other outstanding issues and can now focus on this. Although I will say the existence of a permit requirement for a child's lemonade stand is the kind of regulatory overhang that genuinely deserved a fix.
It's never too early to learn that the government is a greedy piglet that suckles on a taxpayer's teat until they have sore, chapped nipples.
A vigilante in Mexico dressed as Batman has been wanted by police after reportedly chasing down suspected thieves and taping them to lampposts. He has not been caught. This seems like a genuinely good marketing opportunity for duct tape.
Don't let me find you out here again.
We're trying to help you.
I don't need help.
Not my diagnosis. What gives you the right? What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
That's it for new side quests. 3 questions to start July. The most elaborate celebration you've seen for something that probably didn't need one. What you think is the biggest reason Americans live longer and the biggest current threat to that. And a time you got news that was technically better than feared, but still not that great. Email me at newsidequest@gmail.com or drop a line in the Substack comments. See you on Thursday.